Yeah.
We are dealing with what I call, the zealots of the Vaxophile cult, and they're quite impervious to data, and they're not beyond. They someone called it laminated lies, the forest of the fallen. These were these were fiction, and my experience on the weekend was just someone from the public came up and just looked at one of the flags and went, "That's my mate Mazza," and he knew. These are real people who died and suffered. So that's why it's so. I can imagine how infuriating it is for you, Raylene, to hear these people turning around and speaking about first lying that and engaging in this campaign of misinformation, which is what it is.
It's interesting because they kind of believe that we're sitting around with nothing better to do than making up stories about people that don't exist in all these different, because the people wrote them themselves, so they're writing in there how they write, so writing in all these different writing styles, and then laminating them and then spreading it out like some propaganda war attack. But how dumb would we be? Because it'd be so easy to disprove, because well, this people doesn't exist, this person doesn't exist, this person doesn't exist. Instead, they've got to go in, oh, well, the person does exist, but judging by this one little piece of paper, I've diagnosed that it wasn't the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to...
Apparently, I exist, Michael. I do exist, but I've been co-opted and taken over by you vile anti-vaxxers.
That's right. We owe you a lot of money, actually. We haven't kept up the payments.
So they go in with this false sympathy.
Yeah. I think they struggle with us because they can't understand why we do something for anything other than money. They can't. Why would they do that? Why? But
because
fact is,
they're projecting their own. That's what they do.
It's a confession by projection.
Yes.
Wow. Beautiful. So how do we want to start going through this? The major thing is that they're saying that Caitlin died of asthma, but you've sent me a load of emails. So before Paul gets to the major thing, I've got these texts here where sorry, Kel. So it's saying it started about 8:30. Almost instantly, I just couldn't breathe. Went straight to the hospital, and they took me straight in and didn't let me out until almost 1 a.m. And no, I haven't even had anything yet. I'd had one beer like an hour before. No one had been smoking. The doctor says he thinks thunderstorm asthma, which is literally just after heavy storms, pollen, everything is everywhere, and they tend to get an increase in cases. But apart from that, he just gave me a script from an inhaler and steroids, and I have to book a follow-up with my GP. But you're saying that your son has asthma, but Caitlin didn't have asthma. And I think she says in here that too.
There's a huge difference between being an asthmatic and being given a script for a preventer or a reliever or both half a dozen times through your life when you've got a viral load. There's a massive difference. I had one of each. I've got 3 children. Caitlin's like me. When we get the odd virus, and Caitlin had not had a viral infection for 5 years prior to her death. That goes back to 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 2014. That's the last time she had a virus. And same GP. We always went to the same GP. And Ventolin and a preventer and a reliever. Ventolin is the reliever. Can't remember what the preventer was. And you just use that for the term of until your virus is over, open up the small airways. It's not bronchitis, that's the large airways. We subject to having the small airways closed when we have viral infections. That's what Caitlin had. She had not had a virus or a preventer or a reliever for 5 years prior to her death. But because she had just moved house and she had, when a friend of mine packed it up, she had like I don't know, a dozen boxes. Well, it wasn't in boxes though, of her stuff in her little car. And they found one of my son's junior Ventolin, and it didn't even have a label on it. I've got it all. I've got everything. And you still cannot see the label. They said she's an asthmatic because when she went, she had that in her car. She also had cat steroids. They took that in as not cat steroids, cat antibiotics. She had what the hospital had given her when she left hospital. And she had the scripts, the filled scripts that she'd had to fill on the Monday. She had the ones that the hospital gave her when she left on the Sunday night. And she had Sunday morning, sorry, it's like 1 a.m. And she had one of those in her hand with her spacer when she was dead. So when the police came and she's on the ground, the person who pulled her out of the car said she had the spacer and the Ventolin in her hand and she was dead. So therefore she was an asthmatic. And it went from there.
Just probably
and they
desperately struggling
instantly,
to breathe.
yeah, she was trying to breathe. Instantly went from there to the police said she's an asthmatic, the emergency said she's an asthmatic, the forensic pathologist said she's an asthmatic, the coroner said she's an asthmatic, and all the trolls say she's an asthmatic, and she wasn't. In 23 years, she wasn't an asthmatic. Her youngest sibling, 9 years younger than her, he is an asthmatic. We spent half of his life in Queensland Children's Hospital. He's turning 20 in a few days, so he's still got asthma. He's an asthmatic, and he's on some heavy-duty medication. So therefore, the coronial findings are there's family history. I struggle to see how someone born 10 years after her is history, but it's just an aside there. Anyway.
And the bias
Caitlin
with
was
it.
not an asthmatic.
This is one of her first texts. Checking to see she'll be right. Hi, I got my second COVID shot on Tuesday and it's made me so sick. Was hoping to be okay this morning, but still feel like shit.
That is the stable group chat.
Yeah.
They all knew, and they all denied it. I had one guy he's lovely, and he brought his fiancée to my home to visit and said that he had a conversation with Caitlin. So she passed away on Wednesday and Tuesday afternoon. So he's on in the mornings. He rides track. No. Wednesday morning he was riding track. And he had a conversation with her, and because she would do shifts, she'd do early morning and then afternoon. And he had a conversation with her and said, "Hey, mate, you know it's a vaccine that made you sick, don't you?" And she said, "Yeah, I know, it absolutely was." And he said to me that he was going to talk to her more about it on Thursday morning. And he turned up on Thursday morning to be told she died on Wednesday